the real Walter Cronkite, the most trusted newsman who pushed a radical agenda. Yes, we read here that Walter Cronkite is dead at age 92, but most Americans, many of whom consider him the most trusted man in the country during his reign as CBS News anchor, still don't know what motivated him.
For many years, I did my best to report on the issues of the day with as much fairness as I possibly could, an objective manner as possible to achieve. When I had my own strong opinions, I tried to put them aside for the moment in the interest of fairness. I didn't communicate my hope to my audience. Now, however, my circumstances are considerably different. I'm in a position to speak my mind, and by God, I'm going to do it.
After leaving his position with CBS, Cronkite's political activism and offbeat ideas had no restraints. In 1989, Cronkite spoke to a dinner organized by People for the American Way, a group founded by Norman Lear. His candid politics surprised even that audience. Quote, "I know liberalism isn't dead in this country. It simply has temporarily, we hope, lost its voice," end quote. That's interesting. How about this one? Quote, "About the Democratic loss in this election. It was not just a campaign strategy built on a defensive policy. It was not just an opposition that conducted one of the most sophisticated and cynical campaigns ever. It was the fault, of too many who found their voices stilled by subtle ideological intimidation," end quote. Sound familiar? Sounds oh so familiar. Here's what else he said. Quote, "We know that unilateral actions in Grenada and Tripoli was wrong. We know that Star Wars means uncontrollable escalation of the arms race. We know that the real threat to democracy is half a nation in poverty. We know that religious beliefs cannot define patriotism. God Almighty, we've got to shout these truths in which we believe from the housetops. Like that scene in the movie Network, we've got to throw open our windows and shout these truths to the streets and heavens. And I'll bet we'll find more windows are thrown open to join the chorus than we'd ever dreamed possible." Okay. That's interesting. But you didn't hear about it reported very well, did you? In 1999, he appeared at the United Nations to accept the Norman Cousins Global Governance Award from the World Federalist Association. He told those assembled, including Hillary Rodham Clinton, that the first step toward achieving a one-world government, his personal dream, is to strengthen the United Nations.
We Americans are going to have to yield up some of our sovereignty. That's going to be, to many, a bitter pill. It would take a lot of courage, a lot of faith, a lot of persuasion to them to come along with us on this necessity. Our forefathers believed that the closer the laws are to the people, the better. Cities legislate on local matters, of course. States make decisions on matters within their borders. And the national government deals with issues that transcend the states, such as interstate commerce, foreign relations. That's what we mean by federalism. Today, we must develop federal structures on a global level. To deal with world problems, we need a system of enforceable world law, a democratic federal world government.
Listen carefully. Quote, "Pat Robertson has written in a book a few years ago that we should have a one-world government, but only when the Messiah arrives. He wrote, literally, Any attempt to achieve world order before that time must be the work of the devil. Well, join me. I'm glad to sit here at the right hand of Satan." End quote.
Their leader, Pat Robertson, has written in a book a few years ago that we should have a world government, but only when the Messiah arrives. He wrote, literally, "Any attempt to achieve world order before that time must be the work of the devil." Well, join me. I'm glad to sit here at the right hand of Satan.
Oh, interesting. So he said, I'm sitting at the right hand of Satan. Nice admission there, Walty. Nice. Very nice. I think that's very interesting. Now, moving on here. Later, in an interview with the BBC, Cronkite described this new world order as something that sounded like a militaristic world dictatorship. Quote, "I wouldn't give up on the UN yet. I think we are realizing that we are going to have an international rule of law. We need not only an executive to make international law, but we need the military forces to enforce that law, and the judicial system to bring the criminals to justice before they have the opportunity to build military forces that use these horrid weapons that rogue nations and movements can get a hold of, germs and atomic weapons," end quote. There you go. He spoke openly about the need for America to give up its national sovereignty. Quote, "American people are going to begin to realize that they are going to have to yield some sovereignty to an international body to enforce world law. And I think that's going to come to other people as well. It's a fair distance to get there, but we are not ever going to get there unless we keep trying to push ourselves onto the road," end quote.
We Americans are going to have to yield up some of our sovereignty. That's going to be, to many, a bitter pill. It would take a lot of courage, a lot of faith, a lot of persuasion to them to come along with us on this necessity. Our forefathers believed that the closer the laws are to the people, the better. Cities legislate on local matters, of course. States make decisions on matters within their borders. And the national government deals with issues that transcend the states, such as interstate commerce, foreign relations. That's what we mean by federalism. Today, we must develop federal structures on a global level. To deal with world problems, we need a system of enforceable world law, a democratic federal world government. Most important, we should sign and ratify the Treaty for a Permanent International Criminal Court. That is now at the core of the World Federalist Movement's drive. That court will enable the world to hold individuals accountable for their crimes against humanity.
You're listening to AVR, the American Voice Radio Network. We're on free-to-air KU band satellite at Galaxy 19 at 97 degrees west, frequency 11836 vertical with symbol rate 20.770, PID left audio channel. Visit our website at theamericanvoice.com.